Hello, hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well on this Monday. I am excited to be here for day 2 of my 30 days of systems that makes teams work. And I am going to be speaking today about why great people fail in broken systems. And that may be obvious to a lot of you, but I want to break down to get a little bit more clearer and deeper so that you are aware of some of the things that are happening in these systems, but also so that you have a way of recovery. So, I have been studying and watching different systems, and this is why this it was the motivation for me doing this 30 days of systems that make teamwork. And I've been paying special attention to specifically the people in the system. Okay. Now I've been studying a lot of different things, the processes, the things behind the scenes, things like that. But I also wanted to really speak to, this other area. Okay. One second, y'all, because I don't think that I am live on Instagram. So I just want to check. I want to make sure. Um, yeah, I want to make sure that I am live and I am here with everybody. So I'm just going to make sure really quick. Um, all right. So it says that I'm live. I hope I'm live. Let's see. Remove. Add. Y'all, I am too excited because I just hopped right in. I didn't even check, y'all. Too excited, too excited. But this topic is important to me, so we're gonna keep it going. We are gonna keep it going. Um, all right. All right. So let me dive back in. So I've been studying and watching the different systems, and I've been paying special attention to not just the processes and things like that, but also the people in the system, and really trying to look at why some people thrive and some people don't in the same system. System today, what I'm talking about is like the environment, the team, the organization, the grouping. Like, why do some people thrive and some people don't thrive, right? And what and what I'm seeing is that two people at the same level in the same system will have two totally different experiences. And that's correct for anything. Like, you could be in the same household, you'll have a different experience. You could be a part of a friend group and have a different experience. Two people could go to the same party on the same day and have two totally different experiences. But what's important to me is that in systems where we are supposed to thrive and generate some type of output for the organization, what does that look like? And how do people continue to survive in those elements? And so when I was thinking about doing this topic today, I started to look at the study of biomimicry. And I learned about this from Adrienne Maree Brown. She's just a phenomenal human being. And I started to learn about biomimicry some years ago. I want to say in the pandemic, and learned about it through Adrienne Maree Brown, had her book Emergent Strategy. Then from there I went and bought a book on biomimicry. And biomimicry is the study of nature and applying that to human systems as solutions or as ways to innovate. And it is taking something that is happening in the human system and seeing how nature has possibly solved that issue, and then either copying the form or the shape, or copying the process, or in some ways mimicking those things, right? So, birds in nature, similar to airplanes, as an example. But if we take plants, you can plant the same seed in the same soil And with the same water, you're watering the same same water in the same sunlight. Some will grow tall and strong, and others wither, like they don't even grow. And then what we see is that this is the same environment, but there are two different outcomes. And what that made me realize is the same things happen in our teams and in our organizations where there's two equally talented people working in the same system, and one thrives and the other doesn't. And so the question I had is why? And then more importantly, what do leaders need to change in the system so that everyone has the conditions to thrive? Everyone can survive in these different systems. You know, what I see in many organizations, and for specificity, I'm going to say corporate organizations, there are again two equally talented people on the team. One of the people seem to be thriving, the other doesn't. And without a question, what I see a lot or most leaders do is they will say that the person who isn't thriving just is no good. And they might not say it in those words, but you'll hear things like, we have to, manage them out. We have to pull them over to this new team. We have to give them more consequences or things like that, right? So they just kind of like they're lost cause. And this is not every leader, but this is what I've experienced or what I've noticed a lot of the time. And we start to manage these people out, forgetting how talented and capable they were to begin with, because you did hire them. They were hired. There was a reason why they were hired, right? Their knowledge didn't change. They did lose what they know. If anything, they gained more knowledge. And because of this, and because I've just been thinking about this is why on this day two of the 30-day systems that make teams work, I want to show you or teach you or tell you exactly why even your best people can fail inside of a broken system, and then how to make sure that that never happens on your team. So the other day I told you one of the big myths. I talked to you all about some of the myths in organizations. And one of the myths was if I just hire better people, everything is going to work out. And don't get me wrong, talent matters. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be focused on talent. You shouldn't be focused on somebody keeping up with their natural potential or the pace of where the business is going, because skill matters, their motivation matters. All these things matter, right? But if we rely on these things solely, we're going to fail. And that's because systems, like I shared the other day, Friday, systems shape behavior more than talent does. So Peter Senge was the person that I talked about on this, and he said it best where the system is always going to win. The system is always going to beat out talent every single freaking time. And that's why some of the best people actually fail in these systems. So the example that I gave was that there is this one employee that starts off in one organization, and in that organization they're rewarded for teamwork, and then they go to another organization and then they get rewarded for commission, right? So the reward system changes, and it changes who they are as an employee, and they start to cut corners and hoard information because the reward system totally changed them, right? It's kind of like you get put in a system and now you gotta fit in. You gotta make sure you fit, right? We've heard that statement in a lot of organizations, right? You gotta fit. And this is exactly what Peter Senge was talking about when he says the system always wins, because it's going to change a person's behavior. So drop a comment in the chat if you've ever seen somebody who was like a superstar on your team, somebody who was just the star, and then they struggle because they enter into a new environment. Drop it in the chat. Drop it in the chat. Even if you're listening on this on recording, I want to hear it. Drop it in the chat. So I want to get a little practical about how systems will sabotage great people so that we can start to transform our systems a little bit and then make it better. So, in a traditional corporate system, there is this unspoken rule that people have to conform to that environment. This is where we get the culture fit statement, which I hate, by the way. Like, I hate when we talk about culture fit and we have to be like, it has to be some type of culture fit, right? Because essentially, what we're requiring people to do is to fit into this box that they have never operated in. And if they don't fit into it, somehow we're going to throw them out with the bathwater. So we hire people because we're like, oh my God, they have so much potential. They're different. They're new. They could bring something new to our environment. And then they get in the environment. It's like, no, but they don't fit. They have to stay the way they were supposed to stay. And so we have this expectation that wasn't the expectation to begin with. And this is the flaw that literally harms individuals, even if there are good intentions behind them. It literally flaws these people because, again, if we don't change the system, the people suffer the consequences if they don't fail, if they don't fit in. The part we often don't want to name is that traditional systems are often designed in ways that harm. And that is because our systems are built on a capitalist patriarchal environment. And so they're not necessarily in a way created for our new environment right now. Before there was just a lot of like manufacturing jobs and things where you had to operate one way, and some of our systems still operate as if we are a manufacturing system. And so it does sometimes fail us. It does sometimes fail us. We do, in some ways, it causes harm to who we are. So here are some flaws in traditional systems that I want to share with you. The first flaw is they demand conformity. Right here, it's like you have to be like us. You have to be like us. You have to do like us. And if you are not like us, you don't belong. And I know Kendrick Lamar got a song, They're Not Like Us, right? Not like us, right? And we all like it, right? But it's not saying that you have to fit into a mold. It's just that you're not like us. But in traditional corporate systems, they want you to be just like us, just like them, right? You have to fit this culture fit. Do they fit? Are they a good fit? Will they be a fit? Like, y'all, over the years, I don't fit into the same size pants that I used to wear. It doesn't mean that I can't still put on pants. And so we have to be careful about how we use the term culture fit and how we don't allow for people to grow. The second thing is that traditional corporate systems prioritize urgency over quality. So I'm going to push speed at the expense of creativity. Hurry up. We got to go. We have a deadline. We have things to meet. We have to get it done. Get shit done. Go, go, go. So it's like, I got to just hurry up and get it done because there is no time to take a step back and create. I remember, and this still happens to this day when I'm working with teams, and it's like, we don't have time for brainstorming. Why are we doing all these sticky notes? Why are we doing all this? Let's just get it done. We got things to do. We got people to see. We got places to go. Let's get shit done. Right? Because our system has prioritized urgency over quality. And then there's the third thing is a competitive mindset. And a competitive mindset literally fractures relationships instead of strengthening them. So now I'm thinking, I got to hurry up. I got to compete. I got to do the thing because now I'm competing for my freaking life. And if I don't compete, I won't get rewarded the way that I should get rewarded. And so there's just this competitive mindset that takes out the opportunity for a relationship, for community, and for coming together because I have to be better than you. And if I'm not better than you, I have no value. Which brings me to my fourth thing, value over humanity. Your value is based on your output, and we measure your worth by your numbers. So, the more you can get commission, the more numbers you can rack up, the better ROI you can bring to the organization. You are valuable, right? And, even I'll say, like, when I'm working with leaders and teaching different teams, I do say, like, you do have to communicate the ROI, because if your team or you as an individual are not bringing the ROI, there it's like you're useless. Like, there's no need for you. You're running payroll for nothing, right? But we as a society have to start thinking a value is different. That's not just your output. Because I know some very valuable leaders who are super valuable because they bring people together in such an amazing way. And that's why they're efficient and they can get the work done that they need to. Okay. So we have conformity. Traditional systems demand conformity. They prioritize urgency over quality. There is a competitive mindset, and the value is a value over humanity. So they focus on value over humanity. And here's what happens to people in those systems. So in those systems, leaders are rewarded individually rather than collectively. So the team's health doesn't matter, only their metrics. There's so many teams that I push back on when they're like, we don't have time for this team building stuff. We don't have time to do all these team agreements and these team norms. We don't have time for that. Let's just get it done, because they don't believe in the team health. And so when we think about the framework, I can't remember who it was, but it's forming, norming, storming, performing. A lot of people skip the forming and they start the forming and they want to get to performing, and then there's breakdowns, there's lots of conflict, there's lots of things that's happening, and then they're like, we need to fix this. So you end up spending more time on the back end trying to form because you didn't set that foundation at the beginning. But it's because our organizations rewards individuality. It rewards, like, let's just get it done. It doesn't reward collectivism, because that doesn't work. Except maybe if you are the Warriors and there's strength in numbers, and then you're like, we need to be collective, right? So sports normally doesn't fit this, right? But a lot of corporate organizations, it does. The second thing is that when something's wrong, we start to talk about the bad apple rather than looking at the barrel that produced it. So if now you're giving me feedback that I am being an individual and that I'm not working well with the team, or that, y'all, real story. I used to get feedback all the time that people didn't know what I was working on, or people thought I was always working individually, or I didn't bring the team together. And I wasn't a leader, but I didn't come with the team and try to work collectively on things, right? And it wasn't that I didn't want to, it was just that the way the system was designed, I felt like if I don't work individually, I'm not going to get credit for the work that I did. I am going to have my work stolen. I'm going to have my work copied, and I'm not going to get the credit. And a lot of Black women, we know this feeling where you feel like, I'm not getting the credit I deserve, so I'm just going to do it by myself, so nobody can take the credit, right? And so that happens in our organizations. And then, we don't even look at, well, what are we doing as a system that can help so you still get credit for the work that you do? What can we do? The third thing is that we keep reinforcing what's already broken instead of redesigning. So we keep saying, the way we're doing this payroll process is not correct. We keep doing it like, oh my God, this payroll process is so bad. Like every time, every week, every 2 weeks, every month, like this system is just so broken. Y'all, real story, I just had a whole situation with setting myself up as a vendor in an organization, and the system is so broken. And I get that there was a lot of like pushback, or like there was just so much happening. And I can look at the system holistically, but the person I was working with kept saying, well, I don't know what they're doing. I'm trying to help you. Trust me, I'm working with you. Trust me. And I believe this person wholeheartedly. They were really trying to help me, but the system is broken. The system is completely broken. And I don't know if they're going to change that or they're going to ask for my opinion or they're going to, but when we keep on operating in the same system and we're just reinforcing what's already broken and we keep on just staying with that same system and we don't try to change it and we don't redesign, it's going to stay a broken system. And so, however the chips may fall, that person, the because of that system, the behavior on the other end is going to start to be a certain way. And then the last thing is we obsess over parts. We forget about the whole. We talk about all these little mini parts and we're like, this is happening. And we don't connect that this is happening because this is happening and this is happening. And so we don't kind of connect the dots. And it's so important if you are becoming a systems thinker and you're thinking systemically, you have to think holistically about everything. Everything is attached to everything. If you think about a car, if one major part is missing, the rest of the car is not going to work. If there is no gas in the car is not going to work, right? If the brakes are going bad, the car is not going to work. Every little part matters. But when I am trying to fix something, I need to holistically think about everything. Everything, the whole matters. If I just focus on the parts, forget the car. Forget it. So how can we survive? How can we survive in these flawed systems? Because not every system is going to change overnight. Sometimes you are going to find yourself in a system that isn't built for you, and you've got to figure out how to survive it. Back to biomimicry, nature shows us how, because the plants, the trees, the entire ecosystem has adapted for millions of years to environments that aren't always perfect, and people can do the same. I said in the pandemic, the way Mother Nature just came and the sky started to be clear and things started to happen is like Mother Nature knew what to do to kind of give us some time before we mess up this world. But things started to be different, right? And so that's what we have to always remember. Nature will give us the answer. It really will. And we've had so many things in nature, or so many things in our human systems that have been mimicked from nature. I said the plane, that's the one I can remember right now off the top of my head, but a plane is a perfect example of that because they looked at birds and they saw how birds flow, and you need wings. You need two wings, y'all. You need two wings. And I don't want to digress, but I just got to say that you need both the right wing and the left wing to actually fly and be cool. But I'm going to come off the side of the road. I'm going to get back on the path. But I have to say that because that's been on my mind. So here are 3 ways people can survive inside of flawed systems. The first thing is find micro ecosystems. So even in poor soil, roots connect and share nutrients. So if you didn't know, underneath the surface of the earth, the roots are connected. They are coming together to share the nutrients. And people, we do this too. We find allies, we find mentors, we find small communities inside of the larger structures that give us energy. It gives us encouragement. It gives us protection. So when I was an administrative assistant, I found a few people to have my back. So we were in this larger system, but there were a few people to help me navigate my career, to move me forward, to have my back when I was having problems. And so just like nature, we connect to other people to ensure our survival. The second thing is create personal feedback loops. So plants bend toward the sun. So I do not have a green thumb whatsoever, but for some reason, I have this one plant in my house that I've been able to keep alive since 2020, and I'm excited. I'm so excited, right? Now, I'm not going to say it's perfect, and I'm not going to say it hasn't been some things that has died on that plant. Like some leaves, all the leaves are not there, but there are some leaves that are still there. And what I notice every day, I open up my blind so that the sunlight can hit it directly, because I noticed that the leaves start leaning. They start going over there like, I like this sun, right? And so we have to, because there's a feedback loop. Like, okay, if you give me sun, I grow, I move, I move closer, right? So people can also create their own ways to track their growth. They can celebrate their wins. They can ask for feedback. They can find ways to stay aligned with their purpose, even when the system doesn't offer it, right? So even when the system doesn't give me the plant the full light, it will lean towards where the light is at to try to get a little bit of it. Okay. It's going to try to get some, right? So there's this exercise called bright spots, blind spots that I like to present to teams and share with teams because it's an easy way to get feedback. I think so much of our time is spent not getting the proper feedback because we feel like it's hard. And if plants was like, "Oh, I'm not going to do that," then all the plants would die. So they find the feedback, they're taking the feedback like I need, I need, I need. And so it does its thing. It leans. It goes to where it needs to go. Okay. So bright spots, blind spots basically is share me bright spots, share blind spots with me that I might not know, because that's the feedback loop that I need. And then the third thing is protect your energy. In a drought, plants shed leaves to conserve their strength. If you didn't know that, so in the fall, things like that, like they're gonna shed some things. Um, but like you, set boundaries. Let go of unnecessary battles. Not every battle is for you to show up for. Focus on what gives you life rather than what drains your life. Focus on that. So protect your energy. So this is where leaders can do more of either delegate or distribute. Delegate some stuff or distribute it to amongst many different people, okay? Because it's not about fixing the whole system. These things are survival strategies because if I am not finding my allies, if I'm not getting the feedback that I need, and if I don't protect my energy, I will not thrive in these broken, flawed systems. But this, if you do, it gives you a fighting chance that when the environment isn't designed for you, and there were so many environments that were not designed for me, and I'll tell you, I use all these three methods to get that feedback, to get that support that I needed. Okay. So what I want you to sit with today is this. Great people do not fail because they aren't good enough. They fail because the system was not designed for them to thrive in. But even in broken systems, people find ways to survive. They find each other. They find these little micro ecosystems of support. They start to bend toward the light where they create their own ways of being seen and heard. And then they shed what's heavy so that they can protect their energy so that they can keep growing. And that survival is powerful. It's creative. It's resilience. This is how you stay resilient. And at the same time, trust me, survival should not be the ceiling. It should not be just the thing that you reach for, because we do deserve more than survival. We deserve a system that are alive, that are adaptive, that are relational, because systems that invite all of us are the systems that we thrive in. And that's what I want you to know. So, my invitation to you is this: notice where in your system people are not only surviving, are only surviving rather, and notice what small shifts you could create more room for so that you can thrive and so that they can thrive. And if you're ready to imagine and build that kind of system, let's be in conversation with one another, because I believe, especially right now, there's just so much going on. There's so much going on in our society. But I believe if we shift the system, even just a little bit, even in these small micro systems, the ripples move through everything, because that's how systems work. When you drop a pebble in a pond, it ripples, it radiates. Okay. And suddenly, what feels impossible starts to become the reality. It starts to become inevitable because you keep going at it. Nature teaches us that. So, this was day 2. I will see you for day 3. On day 3, I'm going to talk about the power of feedback loops. The power of feedback loops. And so this is going to be a good one because we're hard. Feedback is so hard right now in our society and our organizations, on our teams, because as much as we need feedback, when we get the feedback, we things just start to happen. Okay. So I'll see you on the next live and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.